Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages. Welcome to the Stanley Dyrector Audio iPod Radio Show. Today is episode number 3, and it's called Joe. That's J-O. Please take it away, Ann Catalino, my engineer. So back in the day when I went to Schwab's drugstore in Hollywood, it was that famous drugstore that they say Lana Turner was discovered in, which she wasn't, by the way. But anyway, I became a regular at Schwab's. The waitresses like Norma and Margie and Edith would pour me a mean cup of coffee, which was always refilled, no questions asked, at no extra charge. The ladies would never tell you to beat it or that you've overstayed your welcome on the stool you've been sitting on for hours on end, talking to your friends or the people next to you or the people in back of you. Schwab's was a great place. You could sit at the counter with Roy Scheider, actor of Jaws fame. He was the star. And you could sit next to Mama Cass. Yep, Schwab's was owned by the Schwab's brothers, who were the most generous people an actor would want to know. They not only gave you a tab if you wanted, but many times when they saw that you were down and out, they'd cover your meal with no charge. Their pharmacy was in the back of the store, and they had a gentle man as their delivery guy. Now, lots of stars had their prescriptions filled and delivered. And Schwab's lunch counter, that was in the front, and their dining room in a separate large room kind of in the back of it. You'd meet all kinds of actors and writers and lots of directors and a few producers and criminals. Yep, there were also a number of nefarious characters. Several were kleptomaniacs who would steal candy bars off the trays near the cashier's station. Yep, these tightwads would snatch up the trade papers like the Hollywood Reporter and Daily Variety. For crying out loud, they, Schwab's, actually let you read the Hollywood trade papers for nothing, or all the newspapers like the LA Times, the Herald, and the New York Times. But crooks are crooks. So anyway, one day early on in my Schwab's hanging out, I met a lithe, talented young lady screenwriter named Jo. She was such a fragile-looking little thing, very sweet. A lady a few years older than me at the time, but we just hit it off and talked. She was a real brain, and I know she had a tough time writing for some low-budget producers. They paid her peanuts. And there were also the sleazebags who stiffed her out of her money when she was writing movies for them. Jo did have a good friend. She talked to a famous columnist whose office was in a room upstairs in the back of Schwab's, and his name was Sidney Skolsky, a gentle soul, who was also a friend of Marilyn Monroe. Sidney was a real New Yorker and did not know how to drive, nor did he own a car. And I had the good fortune once to do him a favor and give him a ride home. He had also been the producer of The Jolson Story, which was a big hit when I was a kid. My new friend Jo lived in a clapboard house up in a hill overlooking the Sunset Strip. Her tidy place was sparse. She made me a cup of coffee, and we talked about everything under the sun. And she seemed to worry about me, being this young, naive actor who was going to be a big shot in this crazy show business. I was fascinated by Jo's mind. Here was this thin, young, slight lady who was writing all by her lonesome in Hollywood. Hollywood was a bad place to start being a creative back then, and it earned its vicious reputation years before, obviously before I was there, for single low-income ladies being preyed upon by vultures. Now, Jo told me one day she'd love to write great movies. She'd like them to be real and have audiences be touched by them. But now, because of money and things like that, she was writing stupid horror and Western plot-driven stories with schlock producers who would always try to enhance their end, telling her their lousy ideas, which she had to obey. I honestly thought she was at the lowest level a writer could be at, being strung along with scammers for the most part. I felt like she was battered by those crooked deals. She'd have to keep her eye out for her landlord, too, by the way, who she owed money for rent. Then I didn't see her for a long time. I thought she would probably burn out her talents doing these schlock movies and disappear, never making it in Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood, in my mind, was you have to have a good front. And this poor lady had none of that. She wasn't someone who wore flashy clothes and was not a gorgeous, well-built gal, as they say in the trade. But that was me thinking as a young actor. For me, I was looking to connect with the big time, become a movie star. So like I say, there was nothing romantic between Jo and me. In that short period of time that I knew her, she was more like a big sister. I liked her because she didn't make judgments on me and, didn't put me down. And I felt endeared to her by her sweetness. In this life, we don't know what we think we know. What I'm saying is, one day I find out Jo is still in Hollywood. And the story goes that this tall, good-looking dude walks into Schwab's drugstore one day and hears a story that Jo either wrote or told him, and then it happened. Lightning in a bottle. That tall, good-looking dude's name was Clint Eastwood. And he hired Joe Himes to write the screenplay for the movie he was going to star in and do his first directing job. It was called Play Misty for Me. And then Joe was hired to write the William Holden, Kay Lenz movie called Breezy. So don't get me wrong, dear listeners, but nowadays sometimes I think the gods, well, they do smile. Good night. Thank you.